Alrighty.
Mhm.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the After Hours Movie Podcast.
Ooh.
Name almost official, might be pending. Brought to you by the AV crew. I'm Bramman Edwards.
Rochelle.
You gotta do the last name too.
Oh, Hughes.
When you gotta say it like once.
Oh, okay. I'm Rochelle Hughes.
Nice. I'm Justin Beckler.
I'm Riley Eberts.
And if you don't know what we do on this show, every week or so, we take turns deciding a couple movies and then we watch one of those movies. The first week was Rochelle's and we watched Dial M for Murder. The second week was Riley's. We watched Blade Runner 2049. The third week was Justin's and we watched Videodrome. And this week, I chose the movies. And I chose a theme that's very close to my heart, as it is an actor who is basically Jesus, in some eyes. Nicolas Cage, everybody. And
That's the
What was our selection?
our selection was the first movie, which I wanted to watch. I'm not gonna lie, but the first movie was called Mandy, which I'm probably gonna go after this and watch it because I really want to see it. The second movie was Color Out of Space, and the third movie, which we ended up watching, was called Pig, which was directed by Michael Sarnowski.
Thank you, Michael.
It's a interesting movie. Not a standard like Nicolas Cage movie, I would say.
Mhm.
The general plot, I guess. Spoiler alert. Wee woo wee woo.
What year was this, real quick?
2021. It's pretty recent. Pretty recent. Yeah. But spoiler alert. You've been warned. Don't come at us if you haven't seen this and you get a spoil. Basically, Nicolas Cage is this character who has taken a step away from society. He lives in a cabin in the woods, and he has his adorable pig pet, Truffle Pig. And they live together in harmony, and every Thursday this dude comes and picks up the truffles that they find and gives him some canned goods. But one eventful day, some people break into his little cabin and they beat him up and they steal his pig. And much like John Wick, he vows revenge and goes on a quest to get his pig back. But unlike John Wick, he doesn't really kill anybody. In fact, nobody dies. And he's actually a chef, a really renowned chef. And he's got a lot of clout. He kind of uses that to try and find his pig.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting movie.
It's a very interesting plot, but my gosh, it was going in a direction I was not expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie. I really, really did. I think the visuals was great, the soundtrack was fantastic, and the story was, again, something I wasn't expecting, and I was about it. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
It's kind of like not what you expect because like you hear the title, it's like Pig, and it's just like not a nice sounding, I don't know, movie title. It's just like pig, and like you don't have like good images when you think of like a pig, but like it was, yeah, like you said, like it was really nicely like shot, and like the story itself was like really nice. It's just like it was just interesting, the difference from like what you think from hearing the title and then what you actually watched. I thought was kind of funny.
Well, let's be real for a second. This pig was heckin' cute.
It was adorable.
Yeah.
This was an adorable pig. I've never seen a super cute pig before, and this was that pig.
I can sense why he was attached to this pig. I already loved the pig after I saw it.
Couple oinks, couple
Yeah.
shots of the pig. I'm
Little
like,
waggy tail there.
I would drop everything for this pig.
Yeah, just helping him find some mushrooms in the forest. Like,
But then it turns out that he didn't even need the pig.
No.
In the end, he's like, I didn't even need the pig. It's about the trees where the truffles are.
Yeah.
But he still
I don't
kept
know
the pig
if I
around.
drew- Oh,
It was like the pig was his best friend.
yeah.
You just love the pig.
Yeah.
It just shows what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice for someone that you love and care about.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Riley?
I was not expecting the underground chef fight club. That's for sure.
That was pretty fun.
And
That was
and you
random.
used to be a chef.
I did, yeah.
And maybe you just never got the invite.
I guess so. I mean, maybe everyone just knew that I would just beat them all up. I'm not sure.
That's probably it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun little plug, I guess there. An ode to the Fight Club. movie, but in chef form. Um, I really liked the location everything was shot in. It was shot in Portland, I believe, for the most part, and then probably the Oregon wilderness. But the shots of like the beginning where he's like standing there with the stream and the place where he stays, it's just like all like very, very beautiful. So I felt like it set a really nice tone. Um, and kind of made you feel like it wasn't that crazy, where people think in the city with him being disappeared for so long, they're like, oh, we thought you were dead or you just like left or whatever. But it actually, like, what he had was really, really nice, like a really nice life. And I think even there was a moment in the movie where somebody was like, oh, I just, wish I could have gone to the wilderness and just forgot about all this. And so, I mean, kind of what we all kind of think about one time or another is just leaving and going somewhere nice or remote with a pig, maybe.
With a pig. I think it really showed that he was really true to himself, really. I still wish I understood more about his relationship with his late wife, and there was some sort of significance there because they kind of had comparisons between his relationship with his wife and then the other side character and his father, and then his relationship with his wife. There were definitely some comparisons there, but I wish I understood a little bit more. But I mean, first watch, yeah, this movie was really, really good. Let's talk about the cinematography. Right off the bat, I was super drawn in. There was a lot of shots where they just stuck there.
Yeah.
They held it, and it felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
Him just standing on the side of the creek, just standing there as the fire of the smokes behind him. Oh my gosh, I was like 15 seconds.
Well, even in the bakery, like they only used like that whole conversation was just the wide shot. And honestly, I don't think they needed any like punch-ins for like close-ups. Like I think it worked really well, and it was like an interesting enough shot to like look at as well, which I thought was like really cool to like think of like even like with their own stuff they filmed, like could we ever get away with just like one shot? Like we always think we need all this like coverage, but like just like looking at that, like that's not always the case where you don't need all this coverage, like just
I
one
feel
wide
like
shot
too,
works.
if you think about it, like when you're creating all these different shots, you're telling a story, and I don't know if there was like, I mean, I feel like they were trying to use their relationship as like you building a story, because I don't really know who she was exactly. Like, was she his daughter? Was she a friend of his wife or late wife? Like, it didn't really like give a ton of insight, and it didn't really go any further. So it was kind of like an interesting, almost almost felt like you were just like a fly on the wall sort of.
There was
type.
distance.
Yeah.
Like the camera was far back, and it's again storytelling through visuals and shots and everything. It's like even they were at a distance because we didn't really know what their relationship was, and I'm sure they didn't really know it themselves too.
Yeah, it was really a case of show don't tell, right? Where they didn't have to explain like, oh, we've known each other forever and we're like old pals, but we're don't know how to feel about each other. It was like just from the camera angle alone and that very still shot, you got all that. They didn't have to say anything about it, right? Even though they did talk about their past a little bit, it was more you got that from that one shot. And then when he had that that conversation with the other chef, and he was like, why are you doing basically what you're doing? This is all for pretend. You wanted to open a pub, right?
It's not real.
Yeah, we got like really close and like intimate with both of them, and it was like almost like we're in their head, right? And we're feeling that like that regret almost, and you can see it on his face. But it wasn't like it didn't feel like he was like attacking him, right? But I don't know where I was going with that.
No,
The cinematography, I guess they were able to convey a lot.
yeah, And I mean, when moments were frantic, like we even pointed out a couple times, there was a lot of shaky handheld, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was a little bit jarring. But then, of course, it made the moments that we just sat there, made you think, wow, we're really just watching now.
And it was kind of crazy because some of the most like intense moments were like stationary shots.
Yeah.
Like the scene when he's like in the underground fight club getting the shit beaten out of him. That was like, those were 2 like stationary shots.
Yeah.
There wasn't any like shaky, crazy handheld or anything in those scenes. But yeah.
Did you guys notice when he got like at the beginning when the guys like came in and knocked him out, like the camera kind of like
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. The
That was a
like
fun move.
Yeah.
the tip over or whatever.
It went well with like the motion of him getting hit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It felt like more seamless with like a transition. Well, it wasn't even a transition, but it felt more seamless with the hit. It felt more realistic. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know what's funny is there's 2 shots that I found were really nice. Was the one of the beginning shots. It was the one that actually had the title in it, the pig title.
Like through the door.
And it was one of those moments where like you look at a shot and then the title came up and then I was like, oh, this is framed really nicely. And it was almost like seeing the title made me realize how it was actually like framed all in the door frame because the pig fit perfectly in the frame. And I was just like,
Perfectly symmetrical.
it was just like the composition of it. It just made me more aware. And I really liked that it brought that awareness. And then the other shot I really liked was a similar show don't tell, was how we saw like the series of these long shots. And the one was when he found out after his pig had died, and sorry, spoiler. Am I supposed to spoil so early? I mean, I guess
We've already disclaimed in the beginning.
Yeah.
We'll
I
put it
gave
on
a spoiler warning earlier.
Yeah,
We're
but
good.
basically,
Hold on. Fort collapsing.
is when he is driving home with a beer and his head's just out the window. You just see his hair in the wind. It kind of had almost a bit of a Joker vibe, or like
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Mhm.
where he's like, you know. But I really like that was a similar show don't tell. Like
You
you know,
what he
you
was
stick your head
feeling.
out the like almost out the window, like just thinking about things, and it was just a really well shown show don't tell shot. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The progression of this film was really interesting. And again, we made the reference to John Wick, but it's like he is a nobody, at least in the beginning. But then it turns out he's known everywhere. And then he goes from this guy to this guy to this guy. And it's like you can see the progression and everything.
When I first heard the like synopsis of this movie, and I was like, Nicolas Cage is in it. It's about his pig getting stolen. It's going to be like a John Wick. Like he's going to go around. He's going to, even the cover, he's like all bloody and like beat up. I'm like, oh yeah, he's going to go, tell some people what's what. And he did tell some people what's what, but he told them what's up. He didn't tell them with his fist. He told them. He just told them. And I was like, but it still felt very John Wick. Like it's still like the whole time I was like, I could see like, he like shows up and he's like, what was his name? I'm Robin, whatever. And it felt very like, John Wick, you don't mess with John Wick. And it was like, you don't mess with Robin, right? But yeah, no, that was really cool. I like that.
It really threw a curveball. I mean, it was just like, yeah, there's like an underground fighting ring where some people at the restaurants like to fight each other. It's like, okay. And then it turns out that his name is on the wall. And I really liked, was it Amir? Was that his name? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amir and Robin's relationship was really, really cool. How Amir really looked at Robin as just like, ew, gross. I just go to you to get the truffles and then I'm out and that's it. I don't care about you. And then literally when he found out who he was, just the whole relationship just swapped.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of respect he had for him. He gave him ice, gave him a place to sleep. He made him breakfast. Like,
drove him around.
yeah, it was so cool. And it just shows that like he was a really respected person.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really cool. And I mean, there was a point where he was like, yeah, you can start saying my name and because all of that, because it's like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
It's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, the chef that the restaurant they went to, he just like took him a couple seconds. It was like, oh my God, that's him. That's the guy.
You probably don't remember me. Yes, I do. I fired you because you couldn't cook pasta right.
Yeah.
Overcook the best.
Yeah.
But
I love their relationship.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really cool.
When they were cooking together, I thought that was really sweet.
Oh, that whole sequence was, it was beautiful, honestly. And I kind of knew that when they start, he was asking for these specific ingredients, and then when they started cooking together, I'm like, he knows what he cooked his father and his wife, the one meal that they shared together, that they actually had a good night, and what they all remember. Yeah, that was a heartbreaking scene, because like when that scene was happening, when they were cooking together, I'm like, man, you know what? In essence, this is a really good feel-good movie. And then the next scene happened, and I'm like, my heart is broken.
Well, like every character Robin met, he was like, it's not that he was like he wasn't mean, but he was just telling them like he kind of knew what is important in life.
Mhm.
And he was like going up to them being like, look, this isn't important in life. Like, and he's using that to get his pig back, really. But like every person he goes up to, it was like, yeah, you to the one chef who he knew, it was like, you wanted to open a pub, an English pub, and here you are making all this like basically fraud of food. I mean, I'm not into the culinary world, you know, I don't know, but like, I mean, that's kind of how I look at really like those fancy dishes and whatever. Like I've been to a couple fancier events, I want to say, and like they go up and they explain the dish, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, right? But it's this idea of it like almost being like, oh yes, very fancy, right? And he's telling this to the chef, and you can see the chef like breaking essentially, but still with like a smile on his face. And yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Like he didn't fight people with hate; he fighted them with like the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But
And he got his way.
he did. He like knew how to play people.
Mhm.
Like even the one scene when he's talking to Amir's father, when he finds out he has his pig, or thought he had his pig, he was like, Amir's father was basically like, look, I'll give you all this money, get out of my house. And he had this line, Robin had this line that was like, were you different before your wife died, or something like that? And it was like, he knew that was the soft spot to hit him. Like he knew that. So he knew how to play people to get his way.
Yeah. But he wasn't doing it in an aggressive way. He was just, he wanted to speak the truth, and that's all he wanted, was just to kind of like figure them out, to also get his way through the truth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, he just wanted to be left alone.
That's all he wanted, was a little bit of solitude, be a little hermit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The pacing was great. I mean, there were some shots that were really, really funny. The one where he's upset and he's going to Amir's father's place. He goes up to this porch and then yoinks a bike. And then the next shot is him going down, and then out of frame, he yells at a guy, and then he walks out of frame. It was so quick and so jarring, but it was just so funny because he was like, ah, and then that's it.
We had to go back and watch it again. We were like, wait, what? What just happened?
It was
my God.
It seemed so out of the blue, and it seemed a little unnecessary, but it was a funny little nod. I liked that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Riley, having been in the food industry, is there any like, do you think there's any truth to what he was saying? Like about almost like the pretentious nature of like the food industry?
Give us your culinary expertise.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Like if not, that's fine. I'm curious what you think about it.
Do you believe in all that?
It's very funny. The one thing I didn't really believe was that he remembers everyone he serves and what they ate. Like, I'm sorry, I served so many people in a kitchen, and I don't know. I know what I've cooked, but I don't know who's eaten it. And I do know the people that have eaten my restaurant, but I don't remember what they've eaten. So, I mean, there's a handful of times where I remember people having like these big reviews about this food that they ate, and it was really awesome. And then you remember that more so. but I don't remember every single person that came through the restaurant, let alone served and eaten and what they ate. So I'm like, did he serve them everyone's meals and then just have like photogenic memory to remember like, oh, he's having the duck. Oh, he's having the pheasant. Oh, I remember his face. His face is Steve. It's like, what? So I don't know. I don't know if that was just like to hit like home for the movie, but it was just like a little unrealistic, but whatever. That's
It's what made him special.
Yeah.
I guess so.
What about the like when he's talking to the other chef and he's like, the critics are fake, the food is fake, you're fake, this is all fake. Like, do you see any of that in the having a past in the food industry?
I mean, well, there's things like Michelin stars, and I mean, like the Michelin's star guides started out from Michelin tires.
What?
Yeah, they started
Really?
this food review thing, and they gave stars to restaurants, and then it turned into this big review star thing. And anyways, chefs like literally die over that sort of stuff. Like they like will like take themselves out if they lose a star. It's like it means everything to them. So, I mean, I guess sometimes like I feel like those fine dining restaurants like mean well. I think they try and like make a name for themselves. Like sometimes people think that like food is just food, but like to a chef it's art. So like it's their way of expressing themselves and like creating like a dish that belongs to them and means something to them. So I mean, yes, money's important and critics do have an important say in everything, but I feel like what should matter is like what you find is good. But I also do find that like when it comes to food sometimes, especially fine dining food, the flavor gets lost and people just forget what actually just tastes good. So I felt like when we were watching the movie at the end and he was eating the meal, I already like knew that was the meal, and we even said it was like the ratatouille moment where he's just eating this like dish that he really loved and this experience that he really loved and the wine that tastes delicious, and it was like we even made a joke about, oh, are we gonna like crash zoom into his eye and like reveal a memory like straight out of Ratatouille, but it felt like that. So I feel like that's something that is also really important about the food industry, is creating an experience too. And I think also those fine dining restaurants get caught up in the experience, like the crazy smoke that you saw come out of the cup with the meal, and then it's like all these like local ingredients and stuff. But
You're paying for the name and the experience, not the food, really.
exactly.
Right?
So
Yeah.
it definitely feels like it has a label to it. So, and there is like anything, if you're paying for that like price, it's like because you want to show off your worth, you know.
It's a sign of status almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's the issue. I mean, like, you have to ask yourself, like, if you went to a restaurant and you didn't have to pay anything, do you think the food would be the same? Or do you think it would just be something that they just genuinely want to cook and make without the experience and the glamour? But I don't know. I always think it's interesting, the idea of restaurants, because like it probably turned into like this this like old lady who would always like probably cook meals for people in her tavern, and then she was probably like, hey, everyone pitch in £2 to pay for this stew, and they're like, oh, old Macbeth makes a great stew. I will definitely pitch in my £2. And then there we go. That's like the first ever restaurant that ever happened because people just wanted to eat Macbeth stew or something. So it's super silly, but I think about that sometimes. Like a restaurant had to start that way somehow, you know.
True.
Somebody made really good pancakes or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my long-winded explanation as to.
Hey, well, you explained
Food.
it,
You explained it.
so thank you.
Jump into something different. What did you guys think of when he found out like that the pig was dead, because when he like that scene when he realized like what was going on, the audio like cut out. Like, do you think it would have been more effective like with the audio or without? Like, do you think it would have been more emotional with
No,
the audio
I like
of it?
I like the audio cutting out.
I agree. I think there was a lot that that was a moment where acting had to have been so perfect. And I feel like he just really nailed it. There was so much more emotion, I feel like, without the sound, that you just had to visually feel his pain.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes that like they do that, and it's just like, oh, I wonder like how it would be different if they left that audio in.
Well,
You know?
you're almost in his head at that point, right? And nothing matters to him at that point. He's not listening to anything. It's just like shock,
Mhm.
right?
I guess you kind of focus then more on like his face
Yeah.
too, I suppose, and like
Well, it's
his
interesting because
emotion.
it didn't really show his face. Like he just felt to the ground, and then it showed
Mhm.
more
Showed the
a
other,
mirror.
yeah, it showed a mirror,
Yeah.
yeah. But
How did we feel about him, the pig dying?
It hurt.
Yeah.
mhm.
You didn't see the pig for the whole movie, and honestly, it was in the back of my mind. I'm like, wow, we're gonna go through all of this, and he's trying so hard. We gotta see this pig again. This pig is adorable. Oh my gosh. And even Amir's father, he was really choking up because he's kind of like, you've done all of this. You've done all of this. You've made the meal that you gave to me and my wife that had a perfect night. And now I need to tell you that all the things that you've done, the pig that you've been trying to get this entire time, yeah, it's dead. No wonder he was like, get out of my house, let me have my drink and all of that, because he's just like,
So do you think beforehand when he tried to offer him money, it was out of like pity?
oh, dude,
Also out of respect though, because like this dude is like this legendary chef, and he knew him, right? And he was like, "I'll just give you some money, and then like we'll call it even." Like he was trying to avoid that disappointing
yeah.
this like legendary chef in some way.
Okay, well, we need to talk about the biggest elephant in the room. What did you guys think about the blood on his face?
I was actually gonna get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's technically the ending. We're going through this whole movie. This guy is getting beaten. He's just going through a lot of hell to try and get his pig back. And he's dirty. He's covered in blood. And the whole time we're all like, dude, wash your face. Wash your face. Like, is it that hard? He washed his hands plenty of times in this movie, but he didn't wash his face. But at the very end, when he's back home, he washes his face and then he goes into his little shack in the woods and he sits down and he looks at the little glowing light in the sky, and then that's it.
I think I liked him not washing his face because in every scene he was so out of place, and it showed just how little he cared. And it was like, this is a man who's just like does not want to be here. He wants to go back to his little cabin. Like society to him is so messed up that he has just left it. Especially when he was sitting in that really fancy restaurant and like the waitress is like giving the spiel about the whole meal, and you see Amir like, oh wow, like trying to understand her, and then it cuts to him and he's just like does not give a fuck. And he's just sitting there bloody and dirty in this fancy restaurant. And I thought it was really good. I thought it showed his lack of care.
You know what's so funny about that whole scene too is out of everyone in that restaurant, like the server, the chef, Amir, like he was the most real thing there. And even the food. But the food wasn't like didn't even see, he like smushed it with his finger and was like, what is this? Like it didn't even look like it moved. Like it was weird. It all felt like what we would consider abnormal. Like if you looked at it from the outside, was actually like he was the most normal thing in that space.
It's like what has our society become? Where
And
we're
yet
like,
he's covered in blood.
yeah.
He's got, clothes that look like they haven't been washed in a week.
Yeah.
He's got scraggly hair, a bit of a ragabond.
I think him washing his face at the end too showed that he didn't do it for anyone else. You know, like a lot of the times in like for me at least, I'm like, oh, I'm going out. I got to shower. So, I don't stink for the people around me because they're all going to smell me. It's going to be embarrassing. But for him, it was like, no, I'm not washing my face because I don't care what the people around me think. I'm going to wash it when I get home back to my little cabin because even though no one's around, that's,
Could also be like kind of like symbolic too, I think, because like now like he's gone back and to like his old life, but it's gonna be different now because like that pig, like the pig is dead, so like he's kind of washing away like that past, I suppose, like that life with the pig, and now he's just kind of like starting afresh in a way, I guess, I suppose.
I looked at it that way, and I'm gonna be honest. I think he's dead. He goes back. He even says to Amir, like, "I'll see you next Thursday."
Mm-hmm.
Why would he go to see him next Thursday? The reason why they saw each other every Thursday was to pick up the truffles that the pig finds.
yeah, but he established that he can find the truffles. He doesn't need the pig.
Yeah, but
I
then
did
he
have
goes
this feeling,
home.
yeah.
He washes his face almost as if he's cleansing himself. And then we have that beautiful like tracking shot of him going through the woods. We're in his house, following him with the soundtrack. It's beautiful. He's into this house. He's undoing all the laces on his boots. Who does that first? And then he
What do you mean,
sits
who
there.
does that?
All the laces, every little lace that's
because
on the
that's how
boot.
those boots work. Laces like hook around it.
Irrelevant.
What do you mean? Do you not untie your shoes, Justin?
No, they're Velcro. No, just kidding. And then he sits there. He's playing the tape from, I believe, to be his wife. And then he looks up, and there's that beautiful holy light that's above him, and then that's it. To be honest, I feel like he died.
There was a little bit
Also,
of foreshadowing.
Because at the beginning, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to come back and be the one to find you like dead or whatever." Like, because he was asking like, "Oh, should I get you a phone or like this or that?" Because he didn't want to. He said
Hey.
he didn't want to come back and find him dead.
That's
I
right.
think the foreshadowing too was the extra plot next to his wife, and the lady was like, "Oh, I
yeah.
kept one for him here. I haven't told him. He let him down.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he will be dead, and then he'll put him there."
Maybe.
I feel like
I had a feeling about that too.
the light,
I don't know.
the light above him. I feel like
It felt like it was one of those moments where it was like he walked home after, he didn't want to ride. I don't. It just like it had this almost like this is the end.
it really did.
Yeah.
Like,
it's time for me too.
I'll see ya. Even the handshake.
I know.
Like that seemed like a really final handshake. And hey, I'll see you Thursday is a lighthearted way of saying like, see ya.
Yeah.
Um,
And especially because he just like lays there after.
yeah.
Amir? Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't know.
I didn't, I'll be honest, that didn't click at all until you brought it up.
Yeah.
But it makes some sense. I can see it.
The classical music was playing in his fancy car, and it was revving, and then he turned the music off, and then he turned the car off, and then he just sat there because that's what was real.
Yeah.
Well, everything else just.
I thought, I like that theory. But I was just thinking about Amir's character development, how he's like always trying to be in the shoes of his father, right? He's trying to be this big businessman, listen to this classical music because that's what intelligent people do, and blah 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 blah. But then it was like after being with Robin, he realized that that's not important at all. Like that pretentious side of him, right? And he kind of started, like at the beginning, he's like, I'm the big shot. And then in the end, he's like, I'm not the big shot. You're the big shot. And it kind of put his ego in check a little bit. And I think he realized what was important. Yeah. And then, yeah, maybe at the end he realized that, Robin was going to die. He's going to die.
All the
Or his
performances were great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which actually,
Less is more for Nicolas Cage.
yeah, I was about to say, what do you think about Nicolas Cage's performance? Because it's he's very hit or miss, and he likes to be over the top, but yeah.
I think he works better with more, not smaller roles, but more subtle roles.
Mhm.
Put him in the foreground, but just don't make him explode.
Well, I think that's the problem with a bunch of the roles he takes or he does. It's just like they're almost written for Nicolas Cage. And they're like, oh yeah, we need classic Nicolas Cage going crazy, you know? But he is a very talented actor, and we see that in movies like this. And I like genuinely, I want to see Mandy, and I want to talk about it because it's like polar opposite.
Isn't
from what I
there
see.
another movie of him where he doesn't talk at all?
Yeah, that's
Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland, which was a very interesting movie. But I want to watch Mandy and talk about it because it's the exact opposite for him, and it's like over the top, and like I'm not sure how talkative his character is, but it's like very big, right, and explosive.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like just comparing them directly, like what it would be like. Because we see him in a very like quiet, like more thoughtful role, and he does a really good job.
I personally am not a fan of Nicolas Cage. Sorry, Nicolas Cage, if you're hearing this.
Nicolas Cage, if you're hearing this, I just want to say official AV Media stance on Nicolas Cage is we love you, and if you ever want to act in any of our things, you are more than welcome
Let
to.
me finish. But after watching this movie, I definitely would say that like, my view of him has changed for sure. I think I've always had an issue with the way that he's delivered the lines, possibly because I find it just a little over the top, and maybe that style of acting is just not for me, but I felt like he was able to convey a lot of emotion and not say much, which is like a really hard thing to do. So, and I felt like I kind of liked that whole like no bullshit attitude too. So, I felt like that was just, I could believe that. And I felt like he really carried the entire movie in doing so.
Yeah, there were moments in the movie where I was just kind of like, this is Nicolas Cage visually, but also just the way he acted. I was very, very impressed, and I was very satisfied with his acting. The whole movie was great. I really, really enjoyed it. So what does everyone think on a rating scale out of 10? Riley, would you like to start?
I would say this is a tricky one. I want to go higher, but I'm actually going to go lower.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I find it hard to watch the movie without comparing it to John Wick, which makes it seem a little like unoriginal, and I don't mean that in like a cruel way, but that's like one thing that's hard about it is he does have a lot of like carrying over similarities to John Wick minus like the fists. Like I think he gets beat up more than he actually beats anyone up. So and the other thing that I just found like was a little difficult with it was just seeing a little bit more resolution maybe at the end. Maybe that's another case of show don't tell. There was still like a lot of questions I had about it after the fact of watching it, which maybe is like a good thing, but I guess part of me kind of just wanted to like see like a means come to an end, and instead I kind of created that narrative, like that ending for myself. So I don't know, maybe that's like the ultimate goal, supposed to make you think, which is always good, but I guess I just wanted maybe something a little bit more definitive, maybe.
It's a fair answer, yeah. Okay.
Well, I connected more with this movie than I did with John Wick, I think, which I think is a testament to his storytelling. But overall rating, I would give it a 8 broken down trucks out of 10.
Broken down trucks.
Yeah, it was in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
Weren't you
remember? I thought he was going to get in his truck. He was going to speed off to the city and start
my
beating the shit
God.
out of people. And his truck broke down in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep, that was hilarious. Anyway, yeah, 8 broken down trucks out of 10. I would have given it higher, but there's a couple points that took me out of the movie because of the sound design, and I think they took like, it sounded like stock sound effects. Like there was one point when he was scratching the pig, and it sounded like they like repeated the sound effect a couple times. And it was like scratch, 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 and I was like, that's just like scratching leather sound effect 4. Like, and that happened a couple times. There's a couple, like one time with footsteps as well, and I was like,
I noticed that.
huh, weird. But I did really enjoy the movie. I connected, like I said, with it like as a revenge story comparable to John Wick. I connected with it more than John Wick because it felt like it had more to say about society than John Wick does. And I thought it did a very good job doing that. And it made me question a little bit, like his whole talk about how, you know, they're going to get an earthquake and then a tidal wave, so why does anything matter? I thought that was hilarious. And it's just like gives this whole like crazy speech to Amir, and then he's just like, "And you stale toast for your French toast." It's just like, what? But yeah, like it's just, I think it resonated with me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I also like kind of agree with Riley too. Like the ending was just like I wanted more, which I guess is like a good thing for like of any film, you know, like it's not like, oh, finally it's over. It's just like, no, I want more. Like that's always a good sign, I'd say. Yeah, I thought the story was really good. I would give it I'd give it an 8.5, 10. Yep.
Okay. I think this is the first movie that we've watched that we're pretty much all in agreement. I've really, really enjoyed this movie. Is it a masterpiece? I don't think so, but it's still a really gosh darn good movie. The third act was really, really strong. I love that entire sequence. And it was really beautiful. There was a couple moments where I teared up a little bit because I'm just like, this is a very emotional performance, and it was very, very believable. So I mean, for this movie, I'm definitely gonna give it an 8.5. Like that was really, really strong. And I'm really glad I watched it. It was on my watch list for a while. So Brahman, thank you very much for having that in your
Yeah, man.
selection.
Who knew that Nicolas Cage could be a good actor? I mostly chose Nicolas Cage because I really enjoyed Nicolas Cage's performance, but I wanted to share that with everybody because I know
Nice.
some people don't like to watch Nicolas Cage movies.
Well, you changed.
doesn't like to.
You changed my mind.
Look at that, see?
Mission accomplished.
Changing
Yeah.
minds.
And Nicolas Cage, again, if you ever want to, you know, act in any of our stuff, we can't pay you yet. But you know, it would be an honor, Mr. Cage.
I don't know if I should be saying that.
I'm bowing to you now. But maybe one day we'll be able to pay you, and then we can have you act in our movie. That's
Hey everybody, we pay our actors.
Yeah, we're not broke.
We're getting there. We're just starting. And
anyway. Bye.
that's a bad send up. Everybody, thanks for joining us on our new, hopefully official name, the After Hours Movie
No,
Podcast.
just after hours. I think we said no
Yeah, just after hours.
We're working on it.
Hey, we're getting closer.
We actually all unanimously thought that was the name worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take us 3 days to figure it out.
Nope. Fun fact, Riley Eberts wanted to call this a movie.
No,
Podcast.
No. You're saying it
It-
wrong.
Movie.
Movie.
Like a cow.
Yeah, but then we'd have to incorporate a cow. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is not part of this
Still think
podcast
it's
at all.
For debate.
No.
A movie.
We're shutting it down right now. You've heard it here, folks.
Movie.
All right, end it.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have yourselves a good night. And stay safe.
Hey, Nicolas Cage, give us a call.